Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It is a free and easy way to support the channel. Very big thank you to everyone out there who has liked the video and leaves a comment every single day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Corporations are once again in the spotlight, in the news within the cryptocurrency, and I guess in this case, the Bitcoin market. If you've somehow managed to miss 3 months worth of news, a round of applause. I'm not really sure how you managed to do it. Companies and corporations are it's getting no. It's already been weird. Their level of accumulation. If you missed recently, we heard that there are estimates that within the next couple of decades, we are going to see just treasury companies similar to MicroStrategy, etc., who are going to own 50% of all Bitcoin. Like all the Bitcoin that there is or will ever be, they will own 50% of it. And then and I dare say it this way, you trickle on down to other rich people and companies and corporations who are simply holding Bitcoin as a reserve or otherwise, and they will probably hold the other 49% of Bitcoin. Daily, you've heard me say, we keep hearing about a lot of companies and institutions who are announcing their foray in some sort of way into the cryptocurrency space, or about how much Bitcoin that they are buying. This day, of course, is no different, simply because we are constantly getting a lot of news about companies and corporations around the world who are beginning to de-dollarize. They're leaving U.S. equities, U.S. stocks, U.S. markets, and they are actually choosing to buy up Bitcoin. We recently heard, this must have also been 2 weeks ago, from Michael Saylor, who was saying that eventually companies and corporations will have no choice, because it's basically like the easiest thing to get rich from. Paraphrasing, but you understand what I mean. A Swedish tech firm by the name of H100 Group rallied almost 40% on the news that they had purchased $490,000 worth of Bitcoin, aimed at diversifying the company reserves. As more tech firms turn to Bitcoin as a treasury asset, Sweden's health tech company H100 Group AB has followed suit with a $490,000 buy that sent its shares soaring almost 40%. In a press release, the Stockholm headquartered company said it had acquired 4.39 Bitcoin. You know what's crazy? And listen, I heard the number $490,000, and my mind immediately went to like, oh wow, they just bought like 10,000 Bitcoin. You know how much the dollar has been devalued, or fiat currencies in general, and how much Bitcoin has risen in value for $490,000 to only get you, and only 4.39 Bitcoin. Remember when I was talking about a Metaplanet? Metaplanet plans on acquiring 21,000 Bitcoin. And I was thinking of how much like fiat currency that actually costs to be able to do so. Do any of you remember when Bitcoin was like $3,000, $2,000, $1,800? When I'm so not used to older numbers, but like when I hear these things, I'm like, that's insane. Also, not to belittle this purchase by any means. Understand that that's another $4 millionaires and billionaires on the planet who will never be able to own an entire coin. That's usually something that people tend to forget a lot of as well. There's not a lot of Bitcoin out there, and every purchase takes away huge amounts of Satoshis from normal people and also people who are like wealthy. The company said the allocation is part of a long-term Bitcoin treasury strategy, adding that the decision doesn't affect H100's core operations, which remain focused on delivering technology solutions to health providers. Cool. I believe this is also a new company. I don't remember saying Swedish H100 group. That those numbers don't ring a bell at all. If you've missed at any point, whenever a company announces that they're going to be buying Bitcoin or have purchased Bitcoin, their stock tends to go up. That was part of what Michael Saylor was stating before, as far as their stock price went up by 3,000%, and therefore other companies would basically follow suit because they want their valuation of their company to go up, and also the amount of US dollar value for their Bitcoin to also rise as well. Yeah. Also tying loosely, gently, I'm not really sure. Genius Group, a technology and education company, has started buying Bitcoin again. This comes after a U.S. court removed a legal order that stopped the company from adding more Bitcoin to their treasury. With this decision, the company continues its plan to grow its Bitcoin holdings. Genius Group confirmed that they have purchased another 24.5 Bitcoin, pushing their total holdings to 85.5 Bitcoin. The new purchase followed a key decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals. The court paused a previous order that stopped the company from using investor funds to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, it happens all the time, and I think just because of being desensitized, I think I've said before in another, this was weeks ago, I said before, I think so many people are used to hearing buying 51,000 Bitcoin, buying, these like huge numbers from MicroStrategy, when you forget that there are companies buying this amount of Bitcoin all the time, every single day. So that's another 85 Bitcoin that have been taken off the table. And we will probably hear about some other acquisition very soon from this company, as tends to be the case. I also don't remember saying Genius Group. I remember there's one called like Sapphire or something. There's also the Blockchain Group. There's so many different names, but I'll add this to the pile as well, because I don't remember saying Genius Group. I feel like I would have made fun of that and then also like remember that a company had named itself that. Also, tying remotely into this, institutions are on track to scoop up over 4.2 million Bitcoin by the year 2026. As a huge amount of capital inflows, sovereign adoption, and yield strategies converge, new research maps unstoppable Bitcoin momentum. Bitwise Asset Management and the UTXO Management released their first collaborative research report last week, calling it Forecasting Institutional Flows to Bitcoin in 2025 and 2026, Exploring the Game Theory of Hyper-Bitcoinization. This inaugural joint study presents a data-driven projection of Bitcoin's accelerating institutional adoption and the geopolitical dynamics potentially leading to a structurally higher demand. If you missed it, you shouldn't have. It's all over the place. People are de-dollarizing very, very fast. The corporatization of Bitcoin is happening at faster than the literal speed of light. What was the other thing? There was something from MicroStrategy. I don't remember what it was. It was something about some other like acquisition. We also had something recently from MetaPlanet. Sorry, I'm stretching. From MetaPlanet, who also announced that they're trying to raise like millions more to accumulate more Bitcoin in the near future. Yeah, companies and corporations are going to hold all the Bitcoin. It's really weird because Bitcoin is not for them, but I don't know what else can be done. We've gone over that how many times at this point. It would be great. I mean, if even just your friends and family also got into this and also held 0.01 Bitcoin or something at this point, but Bitcoin is going to $1 million. It is going to terrify a lot of people that they don't hold any. The FOMO from that is going to push Bitcoin to several $1 million. And I think that's just the way that things are going to be. As always, I say just to think about like further ahead. We got news about 2045 from the company who was telling us that they think by then that MicroStrategy is going to hold $70 trillion worth of Bitcoin. The fascination that I have a lot of times is actually with time. It's not a joke. Like, I'm really obsessed with the idea of time and movement of time and the flow and all these other things. If these are the numbers that we're hearing for this year and the next, can you imagine how monstrously big this is all going to be by the year 2031? Like, think about it. Think of where we were in 2015, 2017, 2020. Think of where we are now, adoption-wise. It's not going to slow down. As Bitcoin goes to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, it's going to cause a lot of other companies who realize that they kind of missed their chance to not want to miss their chance. A lot more money is going to be flowing into this market, and it's going to change, I think, the fabric of society. I think it's going to change the way that people look at money and wealth. And once again, a lot of the wealth concentration will be in the same hands because for whatever reason, no matter how many times we get news like this, a lot of people, even in crypto, seem to not be paying attention. That's a portion of the institutional adoption news. And yeah, let's move on. This was definitely news that we were told that we should pay attention to, or that companies and institutions thought would be popular or would get us all riled up to move into the future. Stablecoins have become such a large topic as of late. For wealth creation, that's not a joke. For moving money around the world, for institutionalization, for liquidity within our market, you name it. Every single button seems to be pushed or triggered or pulled because of the idea of a stablecoin. I keep reading a lot of articles, and I think at this point it's just, I don't want to use the term propaganda, but it kind of are what it are. Surrounding a lot of things being written by banks and institutions talking about the benefits of stable coins, like for the general public. And I mean, as far as these are the same people who were writing and promoting ideas for central bank digital currencies. That idea, for some reason, was very scary to a lot of people. And then therefore, the word stable coin has a much lighter touch. So the general public seems to be okay with the governments creating stable coins as opposed to a central bank digital currency. On top of that, we heard last year that this year would be the year where we saw a lot of these things beginning to pop up. JP Morgan and a multitude of other banks tried years ago to push Tether to the side because they saw how much money that Tether was making. So all of these banks made their own stable coins, or whatever you want to call them back then. And the issue was greed. So all of these banks created their own things, and they were trying to get other banks to also use their coins as well, which simply didn't work and was not going to work. You know, it doesn't take an anything to see that that wasn't going to be the case. So for some reason, the stablecoin news continues to persist. about how amazing and awesome and fantastic it's going to be for society and for the economy and for the average person, with many companies announcing that they're launching their own stable coins because of the something whatever that just passed in America, and also these other laws and rules and regulations by the CFTC and SEC. Many of them announcing that they're going to give a return on their stable coins. If you're holding their stable coin, you can make 3%, 4%, 7% just from holding the coin. So this is where this one comes in as well. It all has to do with capital control. This isn't to make our lives easier. It isn't to make life, more dandy for you. It has to basically do with the idea of them wanting control over everything. This was part of the discussion that we had a number of years ago, where India said that they were going to actually regulate cryptocurrencies as well. And then we found out still now there are no Indian cryptocurrency regulations. The reason they were doing it is because they were getting rid of their larger paper bills, because they assumed that people were using it to avoid taxes. And they were trying to have discussions about digitizing their currency so that they could literally keep track of every single, which also, to be fair, already happens now in case you missed that. But they want to keep track of every single transaction. It's about power. The other side from greed comes from, they realize that Tether has transaction fees. They're extremely minimal. I think they're a cent or less. But if you have trillions of dollars flowing through your chain or your coin, and that transaction fee could go to a bank, guess what banks want to do? So this news came out, and once again, and I'm trying to choose my nice words. I don't know why people are so content with the people who already own everything, owning everything and creating more things that will only try to control us more. Shrug. I really don't get it, but people were quite excited by this news. Some of the largest U.S. banks, including J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, are exploring a potential partnership to issue a shared stablecoin. Yeah, they realized that making their own and telling each other bank to use their coin wasn't going to work. So once again, I predicted this years ago, but it's not from a genius standpoint. It's just more of at some point they were going to have to work together. There's no real way around it, because their entire goal is to get rid of Tether and to get rid of Circle. Because if you can get rid of them, and you basically force every other company and entity and bank around the world to use your stablecoin, well, guess who gets the transaction fees? The Wall Street Journal, of course they did. The Wall Street Journal was and is, you can Google, your computer will melt when you do it because of the amount of articles that will pop up. The Wall Street Journal has since 2018 been talking negatively about Tether. They were the publication who first started rumors that something was wrong with Tether, that Tether was being printed out of thin air, that Tether was so... Remember, if you weren't here years ago, the people from Tether did so many audits on their system. And no matter how many times we saw that they owned enough gold, enough US treasuries, enough assets to really continue to back all their Tether, the Wall Street Journal kept on coming forward with news that, nope, that was wrong. That was fake. They're lying. And then I realized at some point in 2021, I was like, they're putting too much attention on Tether specifically, not Circle, just Tether. And then, of course, we found out that behind the scenes, that allegedly there were a lot of companies who were working together to basically form a smear campaign, allegedly, against Tether. So upon the news of the largest, and I think if you dug deep enough, you would probably find that whoever owns the Wall Street Journal probably owns one of these banks or has a huge stake in it. That's just logic. So, of course, the Wall Street Journal talked positively awesomeness about it. The Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday that the initiative, if it proceeds, would mark a major step by traditional financial institutions in the digital currency space, where crypto native firms have so far led the charge. Yeah, that's fine. And even then, the problem is that a lot of crypto native companies have also become gross as well. They don't care about crypto. They don't care about decentralization. They don't care about the average person. They care about just empowering and making themselves even richer than they already are at the behest, at the cost of the actual ecosystem. So it's fine that people who got into crypto, who created crypto, are like running the cryptocurrency companies. Do you remember the problem that we had? I mean, maybe you've heard of it. Remember like the economic crash of 2008, 2009? Do you remember who that was caused by? It wasn't caused by Bitcoin. It wasn't caused by Tether. But there's a bunch of other names on the screen who it was definitely caused by. We're supposed to constantly sit here and believe that all these companies, all these banks, all these institutions who talked negatively about us for so long and are now jumping at the chance to get into the cryptocurrency. When I say propaganda, I mean it. It's literally this thing where we're supposed to sit here and believe it's similar to Michael Saylor last year talking about how banks weren't bad. Banks weren't a problem. Banks are just okay. Anyone who doesn't want to give their Bitcoin to a bank, well, those people are crazy. And it's like, there are people in this space who don't care about the actual space. There are people who are just here for themselves, as opposed to promoting the idea that we could get away from this system. They're kind of obsessed with keeping the system the exact same way. The consortium talks reportedly involve entities such as Early Warning Services, the firm behind Zelle, and the Clearinghouse, which operates a real-time payment system that many major banks use. While discussions are still conceptual, the report says banks are weighing the potential demand for a consortium-backed stablecoin alongside looming regulatory developments. This is going to happen. They're not going to let this chance get by. They don't have much of an option at this point. We've already seen them launching their own coins and nobody wanting them. So they're going to have to come together. And I mean, with the money that they have behind them, they're going to find a way to make sure that this gets integrated everywhere as fast as possible. If you somehow missed the news, this was around 3 weeks ago. Can you guess who's trying to create another stablecoin? I promise your face and your book that you'll never guess. Yeah, it's Facebook. Facebook is now apparently in discussions and talks. Basically, they're probably trying to lobby as much as they humanly can or digitally can to basically launch another new coin. After the last two were basically by politicians who were terrified of Facebook becoming an overnight bank, they're now trying to do it again. This one will probably go through. I assume they're going to probably have to go through the same malarkey that Tether went through, at least for like a good year or two. They're going to have to buy an enormous amount of U.S. Treasury bills to make sure that they have a backing by this. Because usually these companies and institutions and governments don't usually care who's actually creating a stable coin, as long as the stable coin is about the local currency, which they believe strengthens it. And as long as you buy a large amount of U.S. equities and treasury bills and stocks and all these other things to also strengthen those things as well. But it'll become quite fascinating to see how this ends up working out in the next 10 years as everyone is basically de-dollarizing. So that's also going to be quite interesting as well. Yeah. This was incredibly popular news, as if we were supposed to care because we were told that we should care, that these banks and these companies, over and over and over are getting into crypto and they love it. They no longer step on us as they walk by us. They now at least look in our direction as they look down on us. Cool. That's the banks have no choice, and it'll be fascinating to see the next couple of years how many of these things actually survive, because in case you missed it, nobody really wants a stablecoin. The stablecoin usage is coming from trading, from institutions and also individuals, like within the cryptocurrency space. But the idea is that, there's a huge demand for stablecoins, so that's going to be ridiculous. That's that news. Okay, moving along. Also, in relatively confusing news, this was also popular, and just think. I know that common sense isn't common, but it's also what is like. I feel like there's such a weird amount of desperation in this market, and also I don't know. A lot of times I really just don't get it. People are constantly looking for like signs in the sky. Like remember like laying down on grass when you were younger, or maybe even now, and like you look at clouds and you go, hey, that one looks like a bear. That one looks like a dollar bill, or whatever people are looking at. People keep looking at different projects and different coins, and like they're trying to like decipher something, and it's unnecessary. A new academic paper published in May 2025 by Professor James C. Spindler of the University of Texas. Okay, I don't care about who released it. Presents a detailed legal examination of XRP's economic nature. The analysis asserts that individuals who purchase XRP may be acquiring more than a digital asset. They may, in fact, be aligning themselves with Ripple's future financial outcomes. The perspective, introduced to the public by independent crypto researcher SMQKE on Twitter, has led to extensive debate within the XRP community. The report brings insight into the ongoing conversation about XRP's legal and financial status, particularly in light of Ripple's long-standing conflict with the US SEC. Here's the tweet for it right here. It says XRP holders own a slice of Ripple's future cash flows. They do not. It said, read closely. At the end of the day, XRP purchasers have bought effectively a slice of the future cash flows that Ripple would make from the licensing of its transaction settlement system. So people on Twitter thought that this meant that basically if Ripple makes $1, that their XRP holders basically get a cent divvied up to them. What this actually means is that if Ripple does well and everything that Ripple does is tied to XRP, then XRP will do well. If XRP does well, then XRP's price goes up, and everyone holding XRP also benefits from it as well. The problem is that this was very popular news, and people were discussing if Ripple did well, how much money could people make from their cash flow? This isn't a joke. This is why I said, like, people are digging and looking for stuff that doesn't, like, you're looking for nonsense, and it makes the whole project look completely insane. People were looking for evidence and other things on Ripple's website and through documents that would basically show that anyone who's holding XRP would basically get dividends from holding the XRP. The problem there is that the idea that you would only do well from Ripple doing well would then constitute XRP as a security. And a lot of people were like, no, that's not what it means. What they mean is that like we would get their cash flows, and it's like, do you know how dividends are divvied out? It's when the company does well, they give you a portion of their profits in the form of a dividend. I know a lot of you know that, but other times it's like everyone in this space is so desperate to make money and to look for other ways to make money, and they're not content with what they have. And the idea of Bitcoin going to $1 million means nothing anymore because Michael Saylor, an institution, said that Bitcoin is boring. So we have to have Bitcoin staking. But Bitcoin staking isn't enough. We have to have Bitcoin lending. Bitcoin lending isn't enough. We have to have multiple chains who are all going to have DeFi that involves Bitcoin. Holding XRP is no longer enough. Hearing that this one company is partnered with a dozen central banks isn't enough. There has to be some other kind of loophole. There has to be something else in the paperwork. There has to be something that says that you get future cash. It's like, stop. Like really, 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 really. It's so. This one was popular news, so of course I brought it to you. But understand that stuff like this happens at least twice a week across multiple different projects. There's always this like, remember This happened last year. There was a whole thing with Charles Hoskinson because people in the community were demanding that Cardano's price go higher, and they couldn't understand why it wasn't moving up. So people put forth a proposal that said, hey, we need to start burning Cardano. Burn at every transaction fee and have a burn wallet address, basically meaning that, you know, they wanted Charles Hoskinson to burn a portion of his Cardano to make the price go higher. And he came forward and was like, we don't need a burn mechanism. He's like, if you want to make a burn mechanism, do you know how easy a burn mechanism is to make? It's very, very simple. You create a wallet address and you destroy the private key. You have an address that only can allow inflows. So he told people, he said, you do it. You make this protocol, like you make a wallet address, you post it somewhere, and you send your own coins to it. The more coins that you send would, of course, raise the price of Cardano. You know how quickly that conversation diminished and left? Everyone's constantly looking for another, like no one's content with anything. This is crazy. I saw a video where this guy was talking about being a real estate owner. And he was saying that the rent he was getting was astronomical, but it wasn't enough. This man, on every person's lease, when someone's renting on the actual rental contract, he said in the video, he said, you know, a lot of things that people use, they're actually, what did he call it? They're actually luxuries. So he had ceiling fans in the apartments. He's charging $25 per month per ceiling fan. He had carpet in the house. He's like, well, like they're walking on something soft. So he's charging there's a monthly fee for the carpet inside. He was charging them extra for the outlets, like everything. He said, no, like I'm giving them like a box to live in. Anything else inside of it is, and it's like, you weren't content with making $3,000 a month from your, I think he had like over 50 or 60 places. He had to find imagine a brand new way, like desperately, to make sure that he could make like an extra buck. And a side note, if you own 10 properties and they're $3,000 a month and you're making $30,000 a month and that's not enough for you, you need to get help. I say that in the nicest way possible. People would fall over themselves to make a guaranteed $5K per month would set a lot of people up. A guaranteed $10,000 per month, people are living large. $30,000. And once again, this man owned 50 or 60 homes. So, no, there's been nothing that actually says that if you hold XRP that you own a slice of Ripple's anything. That was literally what the lawsuit was about. That was the actual reason for the lawsuit. XRP was made by the guy who made Stellar Lumens. He then gifted it to the people from Ripple and then made his own new coin called Stellar Lumens. That was literally what the lawsuit was about. There's meant to be no literal connection between them other than that Ripple has created financial products that use XRP. Ripple does not control the XRP blockchain. They do not control, I don't get it. So, right. This was very popular because people thought that they found a brand new way. And it's like, how can you not be content? We also know that people are making staking for XRP, and you will in the future be able to stake your XRP and make passive income. But I assume when we hear that it's 2.8% or 3.4% per year return, that also won't be enough for people, and people will also complain about that as well. Whew. That'll do it for this video. Hope you got something from it. Hope you all are having a great day. morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.